Good morning. It is 10 a.m. on Thursday, September 12th, 2024, and I'm calling to order this meeting of the Public Safety and Justice Committee. We will begin with a roll call.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Here.
and Chairperson Allenberg.
I'm here as well.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll move right to public comment, which is the portion of the agenda set aside for members of the public wishing to address this committee on matters not on today's agenda, but within the purview of the Public Safety and Justice Committee. We'll take comments first in chambers and then on Zoom.
We have 0 requests in chambers and 1 on Zoom.
All right, I'll just make a last call for Zoom speakers. The queue will close when the first speaker begins speaking.
And we're holding at 1.
Holding at 1? All right, thank you.
Ben, I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, hello, good morning. You guys already know I've addressed this committee a great many times about my kids who are being sexually abused and how the county is neglecting to act. I can't even get so much as a screening for my kids, and that's because there's a conflict of interest. And I just want to go back to tell you guys about the last Board of Supervisors meeting. And I was telling the Board of Supervisors about this again. And Supervisor Allenberg, she made a disclaimer afterwards and said that, you know, that's not really our responsibility as the Board of Supervisors. It's really the Child Advocacy Center, it's the district attorney. You can file a complaint with the California Department of Social Services. Maybe they could take care of it. In so many words, she said that. And I mean, I've already filed a complaint with the California Department of Social Services, and they told me that they don't have the jurisdiction to protect children. They don't have the jurisdiction to compel the county to do anything. Obviously, I've gone to the district attorney. I've told him about what's going on, and you guys know what he's doing. I mean, I've gone to the, I've spoken with Dr. Sturm. I've told her what's going on. She won't reply to me. I mean, nobody's willing to do anything. And I understand that the Board of Supervisors, you know, they really just provide oversight. They don't really deal with individual cases. But I mean, this is really absurd that this is going on in this county. I mean, it's not happening just to me. I mean, it's happening. Violet Brooks, Catherine Campbell, Dia Baran, all their children were being sexually abused, and the county reacted in the same exact manner. I mean, what about Ellie Lorenzo's mother, who just buried her child a month ago, and she complained to the county, and she predicted that the child would die. Nobody did a thing. It's really just a shame what's going on in this county. We ought to be warning other parents that don't want their kids raped, move to a different county, move to San Mateo County, move to the Midwest where they have values, move somewhere else where people care about children being raped. I've posted all this information online. If anybody wants to read about it, Google Valerie Houghton sex trafficking, and the first few websites that come up have plenty of information about how the county is failing my children. And thank you very much for your time.
That was our final speaker.
Thank you very much. The consent calendar is next, and Supervisor Chavez, if there's agreement from you, I would like to place item 4 on consent with a few quick comments. Item 4 is to receive the report from the Office of Pretrial Services relating to annual population trends.
I'd actually like to keep that one on.
Okay. Then I'm happy to entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar and I will second that. Do we have speakers on the consent calendar?
There are no speakers in Zoom or in chambers.
All right, thank you. Then let's vote to approve the consent calendar.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Yes.
and Chairperson Ellenberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. And would you like a presentation or would you like to go right to your questions?
I'm happy to go to questions.
Okay, I assume that's fine with you, Matt. Thank you.
So first of all, Matt, I do just want to say how much I appreciate the leadership and the work of your small and mighty team. The questions that I had really focus on the implications of your areas of opportunity. So you list out a number of, I'm trying to not use the word workaround, but I'm not sure exactly what that means. And I was wondering if you could talk just for a moment about the partnerships that would be required to do something meaningful with the caseload. And what I'm actually looking at is that I think this reflects the fact that the county's moving in a really good direction in terms of thinking more carefully about who is incarcerated and who isn't, or who's in custody and who isn't. And I'm wondering if you could explain what it would take to use the tools that you've outlined to actually have an improvement of support and oversight of the folks who are out on pretrial services.
Sure. Thank you. That's a great question. We've looked at other communities. We looked at our own history, and we've consulted with partners, always focusing on safety and equity, but also wanting to continue the services we're providing because we are overall successful in getting a large population of people released into the community and back to court without causing problems for themselves or others. Information sharing is really the key. Pretrial services providing more prompt information to the court and partners more frequently and leveraging existing processes like the court hearings. One of the ideas that we have that we're working with the court on is for the judges to have a status on each pretrial defendant at each court hearing. So that could be incorporated into the hearing. And so that's one thing. Another thing is more prompt information sharing with partners like behavioral health and reentry services to follow the clients more closely. I have some ideas there, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. And there are some things underway. Some of the clients need more attention than others. And so refining the criteria, these recurring 90-day reviews, so we can incentivize positive behaviors, removing restrictions, taking people off EMP and SORP sooner, helps us to devote more attention to the clients that are recently released and have more intense needs.
So here's just a reflection, and President Ellenberg, I would actually really like to get your perspective on this. The one slide you have in here that shows jail population relative to EMP client population and the way our county looks relative to other counties is actually one of the most stark slides. And here's what my concern is. My concern is that we have taken a step as a county to really try to have the appropriate people in custody, and that we have a lot of trust to build with the courts and with the public. And so part of what we're trying to do is do this in a way that gives all of our partners comfort that we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
The problem is you're understaffed, and I don't think there's any other way to beat around the bush. And I wasn't trying to be provocative in asking you the question about what are the next steps. It was a genuine concern that I have that all of the partner agencies, and by the way, including the county, if the county, us, want to keep moving in this direction, we have to staff you. And during budget, we talked about it. We didn't do it. And it's not just retaining folks. I think that's important. But we do not have enough people to do this part of the work, and we're dramatically shifting from a policy perspective the approach we're taking, and we're not matching it with staffing. And I'm not asking you to defend that because, James isn't here to jump in and protect you from us. But I do, Susan, I actually think that we, the board, have an obligation to fully staff this while we're learning how to do it well, or we're going to lose the confidence of our partners that have been going along with us because we won't be able to properly support and manage people. And frankly, taking people off SORP earlier or EMP, whatever we think will step people down also has to be done carefully, because if we have a number of missteps, we're going to lose the confidence of the courts and our partners. That's just what's going to happen. So I'm more saying this to you because I don't think this is a staff issue. I mean, I don't think it's a you all issue. I think it's an us all issue.
I'm going to turn to Casey in a minute, who's eager to weigh in on this. But I first want to agree with you, and I'm aware that there's not a formal caseload standard for pretrial services. And like Supervisor Chavez, I'm also impressed by I'll call them innovative approaches.
Yeah, 100%.
That your team has taken to maximize caseloads while maintaining quality of service. But I'm concerned as well about burnout when we're operating at such a high level. I am really pleased that your office is in the process of requiring 6 additional staff members. I hope that this will go a ways toward alleviating the current caseload burdens, but wondering, and I'll be happy for either of you to answer, whether there's any further analysis that's being done to determine the kind of sweet spot for caseload size, the number of staff that would be required to meet that, because that, to me, is information that the board needs. We shouldn't arbitrarily come up with a number.
That's
But
right.
we need to tie that to what's realistic, both, again, as Cindy said, for retention and for expansion, because this work really is critical and so deeply aligned with board philosophies. And I'm just going to imagine for a minute, without Molly O'Neill even being here, that she is channeling and thinking par program, par program, par program. Reasonably so, because that's another piece that aligns with our priority of limiting custody to only the people that the court requires to be there, and other than that, how are we keeping people safely in the community? So go first to Casey, if that's all right.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Supervisor. So I have a couple of comments. First, Supervisor Chavez, you mentioned the survey and the slide with the jail population. Administration is working really closely with Matt and his leadership team to really dive into some of the data points locally, but also in comparison with other counties. I think what's really clear is that we are an outlier, and really for the best of reasons, right? We have a very high standard for ourselves and for our public safety and justice partners, that we want to ensure that incarceration is utilized for the most serious cases, and that whenever possible, we are releasing people safely into our community when it is safe to do so for them and for the community. But I also think that we are an outlier in a way that is not as positive, which is the durations that we have for people being on various forms of supervision, which are driven by a few things, including the backlog that we have, which is consistent. And I think if Molly were here, and certainly Damon and the sheriff and others, the district attorney's office could speak to the ways in which the duration and the adjudication timeline is really impacting our public safety and justice partners, and pretrial services is not immune to that. There's also a body of research, and certainly we could come back and present this, but there was a body of research that was done recently through the federal courts where they surveyed about 250,000 cases, so a significant batch of cases, to look at the effectiveness of pretrial services when durations were longer than they should be. And what they found is that people actually tended to do worse when their durations went past the general recommendations. General recommendations being about 3 months or so, 3 to 6 months for SORP and about 6 to 9 for EMP. And that is because, like most of us, when you're being surveilled in one way or another, supervision or not, it gets very difficult to have hope. And Supervisor Chavez, you've mentioned this before, to be able to access regular, everyday activities that one would do if they didn't have an ankle bracelet. So there's also a real interest in understanding what is that the nexus between safe supervision and also realistic supervision when it comes to what's best for our community and for our clients. So we're digging in on that too. And I do think for the innovative strategies, it would require a lot of stakeholder engagement, a lot of engagement with our partners, the courts being one of the most important, to really better understand how can we continue to meet the need, which we all agree is a priority of this county and one we're particularly proud of, but also recognize that we are an outlier when it comes to the durations and frankly, some of the practices we have. So in other counties, those innovative strategies that we've listed are innovative for here, but are not uncommon in other places. So other counties do have caseload standards. They vary. Other counties do have more rigorous EMP standards, and other counties do have more rigorous SORP re-reviews. So what we're looking at are strategies that have been successful in other places who have also prioritized community safety, but have also struggled with some of the staffing needs. You know, Matt and his team, they do have 6 positions that we are currently filling for, and unfortunately, and we can get you more data on this, it's been a bit of a revolving door, and it's been very challenging. You know, I see Bell here, his ASM 3, and they can bear, you know, they're hiring people as they're losing them because people want to go into often law enforcement positions, and they're promoting out, and the training portion for this has been very challenging. So certainly we can look at what it would look like to be more robustly staffed in that unit. But I also think, and what Matt and I are considering as we move forward with direction of James and Greta, is how do we look at a more long-term staffing plan? One thing they're doing is utilizing extra help, which has been helpful as a pipeline.
But let me just say this, Casey, all of that is fantastic, but right now we have a problem. And so, yes, we have to be, and look, I think this issue around dosage and understanding concretely and deeply what works and what doesn't work, frankly, we're big enough that we should be leading in these efforts.
I agree.
But in the meantime, the problem we have is that the strain and stress of the job means that any opportunity that comes up, people are going to take it. And therefore, we're losing people who, frankly, we should be getting data and information from because they're the ones doing the work. So to me, that's one issue. The second is that we have been having this discussion about staffing with this body of work since COVID. So this is not a new discussion. And what concerns me more than anything else is that we don't have, and maybe you do internally, but it's not been shared with this committee, a work plan that says, here are the following things that we're going to do over this period of time to try to get us in the next 3 years to X, Y, and Z. And one, in my mind, in addition to the staffing issue, this issue about clear communication between the courts and pretrial services is so critical. I really cannot tell you how many judges have talked to me about this because it impacts their ability to make good decisions that then impact all the other problems that we're talking about. So in my opinion, we can dance around the staffing issue all we want, but until we get the staffing and the tools needed for communication and proper support, we're going to come back and have this discussion in perpetuity. So I'm not, and I will say, I certainly recognize that each part of this system is, the more I understand it, the more complex it becomes. But in this particular area, we have extended ourselves in a good way with our partners, and we've not landed the plane. So what I would recommend is that a work plan come back to this committee that outlines the key innovations or key steps that need to be taken, who the partners are, and what it's going to cost so that when the board has an opportunity either in mid-year or in June to look at the budget, they can make a good decision. And instead of one that I feel like, I don't think this is being done purposefully in a negative way. I just think everybody here tries so hard to do such a good job with the resources they have, which I really appreciate. But we can't put at risk our whole program, which I think this does, without the board getting that choice versus you all trying to help us make that choice.
So that's an excellent motion. I will second it, and I'm thinking about the parallel and how we had to really shift the ship around behavioral health, because what we were getting was what could be done within the resources that they had, rather than saying, this is what needs to be done, and right now we can fund 70% of it, 40% of it, whatever, it's a lot more than 40, whatever it is. And I think we need to do that here, really across the public safety and justice realm is what does it take to achieve the outcomes that we want? And where are we? And maybe the answer is we can't fund more now, but we know where we need to go. So I would very much like to see that report. And I'm looking to you since you'll be responsible for it.
Indeed, I will.
What amount of time makes sense? And certainly, I would want to be able to consider this before the mid-year. But is a month, 2 months?
A lot of this work is actually we're doing already, so I think I can synthesize and leverage current efforts to get you something more quickly. If I'm just thinking about it in my head. Yeah, I think October
Okay.
might.
Let's say
Yeah, let's try to
October,
do October.
and if as
Yeah.
we get closer,
Okay.
you need more time, just let us know
Okay.
that. I'm going to go to
Thank you,
Sylvia,
Supervisor.
and then back to Matt.
Well, I wanted to just highlight that the caseload and workload that the pretrial services officers are dealing with is the exact same caseload and workload that defense attorneys are dealing with, that district attorneys are dealing with, that the court is managing. So there's a commonality here, and that is that we are all interested and would benefit in expediting the case processing of these cases. As defense counsel, I think we often prioritize appropriately our in-custody cases, and that's important. But now that we're becoming aware of the negative impact of prolonging the case processing for those clients who are out of custody on supervised OR, we need to be much more conscientious about the things that we are doing in order not to create that delay. And I just want to bring this up because this is a wonderful opportunity for us to have creative problem solving where we have a joint, common value, which is the preservation of this supervised OR option for all of our clients who need it. But case processing and delays in our court processing is a very critical problem that is impacting programmatic issues, but frankly, from my perspective as the overseer of our program, I'm seeing fiscal impacts because our misdemeanor cases are taking way too long, our low-level cases are taking way too long, and I've always been hammering this issue, but it is having a really negative impact on all of us. And so I think we need to be creative and think strategically. And typically the defense, I will be the first one to say, we don't want to necessarily rush our out-of-custody clients to resolution. But that's only when we have the luxury to do that. We do not have the luxury to do that now because it's going to have a negative impact on our ability to release others safely into a supervised OR. So I think it's the kind of work group that I'm happy to participate and assist the pretrial services team with so that we can come up with solutions that will make it easier for the court to trust pretrial services to release our clients, but putting some reasonable and appropriate pressure on the defense and the DA to resolve some of these cases that need to be resolved soon.
I think that's really fascinating and yes, and very important. And I'm wondering if you could say something sort of about a domino effect, such that because what you're making very clear is how connected everything is, and could it actually be detrimental if, say, pretrial is magically expanded considerably? How does that impact the defense and the prosecutors?
I think we could have comments on that. I see lights switching on,
Okay,
and
great.
certainly in the report back as well, we can talk about that domino effect from different public safety and justice partners' lenses as well.
Yeah, what I was actually going to ask you, Susan, is this. I know you do so much work with CSAC. Is there a joint committee between CSAC and the courts on how we lobby the state for resources? Because I will say one part of the system that has been starved statewide really since Jerry Brown has been the courts and the court expansion. I mean, it's actually stunning to me how mean they are to the courts.
For the first time around Care Court, the two
Right,
state associations really started to work together. Our Administration of Justice Committee has been working more closely with the courts committee, but it's not an it really was ad hoc around
That
around
particular issue. 'Cause
care
one-
court, but I think it's an interesting notion to make that an ongoing.
And to be advocating for court expansion.
Right.
Because I actually think
Yeah.
that it feels like that's been the choke point. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but that's what it feels like.
I just wanted to add, I completely agree with Sylvia's comments and with Casey's comments. But, you know, I also want to point out that it's not just the defense, it's not just attorneys who are suffering, victims and witnesses who are having to come to court multiple times and then have their cases delayed. So this is really something that affects the entire community, the entire county. And I agree. I think that the shrinking of our court system in general has caused a lot of emotional and physical stress to all parties involved, and a lot of financial stress on the county to try and make up for that. So I do think this is a very important point, and I just wanted to add the DA's perspective.
Thank you, very much appreciated. Matt?
I have a background in court management, so I'd be remiss if I didn't say what the
Oh,
court's
great.
done is admirable. They lost maybe a third of their staff. They've done so much with so little. I don't know of any courts that have shifted the criminal caseload to the civil judges. That's a big move.
I hope you didn't
so-
hear that as a criticism of our courts, but in fact, really an interest in helping to
They've
build
done
capacity.
a lot, yeah, and switched to new technology and a lot of other things at the same time. So if we were on the elevator and you said, Matt, what do you need? I would echo what Casey said. I would say shorter durations, appropriate, safely reducing supervision. Staff retention is always going to be a challenge. We're proud to be able to recruit and prepare people to go on to behavioral health and probation. It's always been that way. We've just never had so much work. And to give us 10 positions that we won't be able to, we have so many other things we can do, like the durations. The third thing would be just more modern tools. With more modern tools, we can train the staff sooner, and the staff that don't want to go through a police academy or become therapists would have better tools to work with, and it'd be more comfortable to work. So,
Excellent, thank you.
and we're working on all three of those things, so. Yeah.
Going to look to public, did you have anything else? Okay, we're going to take public comment, and then we'll vote on the motion.
There are no requests to speak.
All right, then motion by Chavez, second by Ellenberg.
Vice Chairperson Chavez
Yes,
and Chairperson Ellenberg.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
and thank you for the feedback.
Oops, my computer just went down, hold on. All right. Our next item, item 5, really looking forward to, is our scheduled study session on restorative justice. And just for time management purposes, you still have a hard stop, right, at 11:40? At 11:45. Okay, we need to wrap up by 11:45, so I'm going to ask that we keep this item to an hour, which gives us 15 or 16 minutes or so for the remaining item, which I've checked with them is sufficient.
Okay.
All right, so thank you. Casey?
Well, thank you. We're just waiting for the presentation to upload, but Casey Halkin, Deputy County Executive, and I'll be doing the introduction to the Restorative Justice Study session. We're going to be joined by multiple departments who are going to be sharing their perspective on restorative justice, current programming, and also areas of opportunity, which I think is really in line, Supervisor Ellenberg, with your comments about what the wish list may be regardless of what the funding may be. So next slide, please. So restorative justice is something that is a concept that's been around for a long time, and the definitions do vary, but a standard definition is really about the framework of what restorative justice is. So it really starts with the needs of persons who've been harmed, along with the needs of the community, which may have been harmed in the process as well, and really attempts to facilitate accountability outside of a traditional criminal legal process. And what we found is that it's a really humanistic way and a holistic practice to address the trauma that comes from victimization. So you'll notice in that graph there that that's really the Venn diagram of what is most important to the framework. So the survivor and the victim and the needs, reparations, the community, so accountability, and also our responsible party. The other important part of this is the safe and collaborative environment. A core tenet of restorative justice is to ensure that both parties, the person who was harmed and the person who did the harm, feel safe and welcome in the environment that they're in, to facilitate in communication and also to give the victim a sense of calm and empowerment to tell their story, but also to give the person who committed the harm the safety and space to take accountability as needed. Next slide, please. All the departments will share their unique perspective on what they believe the challenges and opportunities with restorative justice are. I've had the wonderful conversations with many who will present, and really what it seems to be is we have a couple of areas that I think will come up in conversation. There is a suggestion to expand the crime types. What you'll hear is that typically in Santa Clara County, and this is true in other counties as well, restorative justice is generally limited to nonviolent or lower level offenses. There is some interest from the Public Defender's Office, and they'll talk about this and others, to expand the areas and categories where restorative justice could be used. There is certainly opportunity in that, but also one that must be balanced against the needs of victims for certain higher level cases, considering the trauma that victims of certain crimes may experience. Another part about restorative justice that's critically important is the capacity. The trained facilitators is really a key. You want to have mediators and people practicing within this field who are adept at being able to mediate between the parties, who have a vested interest in the well-being of both parties. And in the research that I've reviewed and others have reviewed, really the capacity and the skill of the facilitator is critical in both the benefits to the victim, to the community, and also to the person who committed harm. I do think one unique opportunity we have, and Dr. Childs will address this more robustly later, is to expand our in-custody programming. And we will be talking about that because that's something that we could do relatively quickly, I think with modest investment, and could be incredibly beneficial to our community, and I think is really in line with our philosophies. So the structure of this presentation is each of the groups will have about 5 to 7 minutes to present their slides, and then at the end we'll do a wrap-up slide, and then we will leave it open for questions. Does that meet your needs, Supervisor? Okay,
Perfect.
great.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So we'll start with our first group, and that is our Office of County Counsel, the Equal Opportunity Division, and our Conflict Resolution Services. So they will come on up to the staff table, and everybody will introduce themselves.
Your mic isn't on.
Ellen Kula, Program Manager.
Ruth Maurice, Senior Mediator. Can you hear me?
It's soft for some reason. It's clearly on.
Is that better? Here, push.
I think Nancy's fixing
Not
it.
really on. Is this better? Yeah, that's
Yes,
better.
thank you so much.
We'll share. First of all, we're very appreciative of this opportunity to address the board about our restorative justice work. And it's also been a great opportunity to learn what else is going on with our partners in the restorative justice area. In our limited time, we'd like to highlight the slides we've presented to you. So we are practitioners, and we have been conducting victim offender mediation for 8 years. For the first 7 years through the Office of Mediation and Ombud Services, and in this last year through the conflict resolution services of our new home at the County Council's office. So I'm going to talk a bit about these mediations. These restorative conversations between largely youth offenders, not entirely, and victims, focus on the person who caused harm taking accountability directly with the person they harmed in a conversation about what happened and what has to happen to make things right. We have found that by giving both parties agency and a voice, repair can be addressed in a way that might be more meaningful to victims than they might often find through the traditional court process. Examples of the kind of repair that parties have come together to agree to, in addition to financial restitution, include things like repainting a vandalized site, whether it's public or private property, working at a school or volunteering for a school district, speaking to a youth group about the youth's experience with restorative justice, and not uncommonly, a victim offering to become a youth's mentor. Through these restorative conversations in which victims are given the opportunity to directly address the youth, learn something about the youth, ask questions about the incident, ask about the reflections the youth has had looking back at the incident, and where the victims are given the opportunity to express themselves about the impact that the youth's actions had on them and their families, victims can regain a sense of well-being and safety. Regarding our referral sources, I would say that 90+% of the offenders are youth who are already in the juvenile justice system. I get a handful each year of referrals from the Young Adult Deferred Entry of Judgment Court. I get the occasional referral directly from a deputy district attorney in adult court, and in fact, we're speaking to the DA's office next week, or the occasional referral from a defense attorney. And then we get referrals from the issuing deputies in the district attorney's office, usually in pre-file matters where they're deciding whether they have a case that maybe would be better treated through restorative justice, often situations that have ongoing conflict between folks who have an ongoing relationship like neighbors.
We also use restorative processes in a couple other areas, and that we've included in our slides. One is the senior and family mediation program that we've been doing for some time. It's helpful in probate court and other areas. Here we use restorative processes to help participants reflect on
Sorry.
the harm they've caused each other.
Could you flip back to that slide? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Help participants reflect on the harms that they've caused each other, and it moves settlement forward, and also results in, hopefully, in less wear and tear on the family relationship. The other area that we're using restorative processes now is our work with county employees.
We included some sort of illustrative quotes from evaluations. We give every victim offender mediation participant an evaluation about mediation. And we've received very interesting responses to the very open-ended question, was there anything in particular that you found to be valuable about the mediation? And what I've done here is really, I have seen over time themes. And the themes for the victims is that they've really appreciated receiving an apology. They've appreciated having a voice, the healing process of talking to the youth, having a future impact on a young person's path, and closure and peace of mind. For the folks who have caused the harm, they have expressed appreciation for the opportunity to directly apologize to their victim, to learn something about the impact they've had on the victim's family, and very often their own family. They've appreciated the opportunity to be accountable and to get to express themselves, which they obviously don't get to do in court for reasons everybody understands. And they've appreciated receiving advice and generosity from many of the victims who agree to participate. I'm going to highlight these first two areas of opportunity regarding victim offender mediation. We recognize that it's likely that the district attorney's office, defense bar, and maybe even the bench are going to be the folks who make determinations about eligibility of any particular adult defendant for restorative justice treatment, or even the offense categories. But we are fully supportive of expanding our mediation into adult court. As I said, I don't do a lot of adult referrals right now. We're also supportive of expanding the juvenile referrals that we do receive into the more serious offenses. And just a reminder that, you know, in our mind, mediation is always voluntary. It's voluntary for the offender, it's voluntary for the victim, and we want to give voice and agency to the victims to determine for themselves whether they would like to participate.
We've also included a couple other areas of opportunity, exploring the benefits of restorative circles with inmates and their families in the community. Also explore the benefits of restorative mediation between system-involved youth and their families, because a lot of times it's not just the victim that's been harmed, but the family of the offender also. And then finally, we think there's an area of opportunity of educating and encouraging victims and offenders earlier in the process to look at victim-offender mediation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now I'd like to welcome the Probation Department.
Good morning, everyone.
Microphone, please.
Good morning.
Nope.
All right. Good morning. Third time's the charm. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Gladys Tran. I'm the program manager of the Youth Pathways for Positive Progress team at the Probation Department. I'll be discussing our lens on restorative justice and how we view our role in restorative justice as well, starting with our restorative justice elements that we've developed within the department. So for one, we are committed to building people up, supporting their rehabilitation so they don't continue to cause harm. That includes the person taking responsibility, but also building up their skills and strengths at the same time. And of course, at the same time, we want to ensure that victims are supported through voice and choice, providing opportunities to participate, but also honoring if they don't want to participate or how they want to participate. And equally important, we want to engage the community in the work that we do so that they can also support the victim, but also support the person that has caused the harm in the first place. So when all three elements are considered, we consider comprehensive restorative justice happening. And so within the juvenile justice system, we heard earlier about the victim offender mediation program, but we also offer victim impact classes where the emphasis is on empathy, the impact of the harm on the community and the victim. And it's taught by community members. And when possible, we try to make sure that we include victim speakers into the class just to hone in on those messages. Similar to that, we have community service learning that teaches similar concepts, but it also has a practical application component where the youth actually has the opportunity to repair harm to the community in a way that's related to the harm that they've caused. And then also we have the Victim Services Unit within the Juvenile Probation Division, and that's where we have dedicated staff to support the victim, making sure that they're included in our processes, and elevating their needs and concerns. And so it can start off as small as creating a supportive environment when they come to court and come to our building, all the way to helping them set up restitution accounts with the Department of Tax and Collections. In the adult system, we have the Intimate Partner Violence Program, which is a targeted treatment program dealing with the root causes of intimate partner violence, but at the same time providing services to the victim to ensure their recovery, but also promote their safety through that process as well. And so we also have a few other programs and practices that are mapped out on this Venn diagram of sorts. And so while they may not consider all three elements at the same time, they're very restorative in nature in the sense that we are diverting youth and young people from penetrating our system, but also giving youth with lived experience, victims, and community seats at the table to contribute to decision making. Next slide. These are, in the next couple slides, we have descriptions of the programs that I just went over. Perfect. And so the way that we view restorative justice is not simply just a project or a set of individual programs. It's a mindset and philosophy that we actively practice. And so all of these programs were developed within the last 2 decades, and we've been building upon that. And so to continue the work, we're working with members of the Juvenile Justice Council on work plans specifically related to restorative justice, taking a look at what practices in schools to continue to divert and prevent escalation of youth in our system, looking at ways that we can create the shared understanding and vision of restorative justice in our system, which can include training, but also looking at other ways. As Casey mentioned earlier, a lot of these restorative practices are happening when lower level crimes are committed, and so looking at ways that we can incorporate appropriately community and victims when more serious offenses are committed. And so I went over a lot of practices happening on the juvenile side, and that's because within these last 2+ decades, we've had funding to support dedicated staff to innovate with programming, where the adult side hasn't seen that. And so it doesn't have the dedicated staff historically to support some of these practices on that side. And that concludes my presentation.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to welcome the Office of the District Attorney.
Good morning, members of the Commission. My name is Adam Flores, and I'm here on behalf of the District Attorney's Office. I'm the supervisor of our Community Prosecution Unit, which focuses on juvenile crime prevention. I oversee our community prosecutors, program manager for the South County Youth Task Force, and also the Parent Project. And our unit works in spaces where we engage restorative justice, especially in the school and community. And I'm also here with 2 of my team members who are working on this subject, Tasha Wiggins, Director of Victim Services Unit, and Bernice Aguilera-Tony, Program Manager of South County Task Force, who I should also note is a very skilled practitioner and trainer in restorative justice. I'd like to walk you through our experience focusing on restorative justice in youth diversion, in schools, and in community spaces. Next, thank you. We've had great success in the youth space engaging in restorative justice, and I'd like to highlight specifically the South County Restorative Justice Youth Diversion Program. It's a regional program run under the South County Task Force umbrella and was spearheaded by our office, and we continue to provide program oversight. It is a restorative justice-based program where youth who receive a juvenile citation are then diverted back to the community level to address the harm with local resources and local supports. The citation doesn't leave essentially the police department. It doesn't go to probation. It stays at that local level. I can't emphasize enough that it's very much a multi-agency collaboration with our South County law enforcement agencies, the school districts, the city, community-based organizations, county SSA, and it's currently run by a community-based organization, Youth Alliance, and is the coordinator. So how does it work? Well, first, the youth is cited for some kind of alleged criminal activity. There's the investigation, it's completed, everything as normal. And then it's sent to a specific officer in the department who reviews it for determining eligibility. These are typically, as was mentioned earlier, these are lower level offenses, lower level misdemeanors and felonies. And assuming the youth wants to participate, as it is voluntary, then that youth is referred to the program, where the youth participates. There's an intake to get more of a background of that youth. What are their successes, their hopes, dreams, challenges? so that they can be provided resources at this local level and connected to school and community. Once they receive those, as they receive those supports, they are then prepared for an RJ circle, restorative justice circle, where they discuss what happened, what occurred, what are your thoughts, what can be done to correct the harm that occurred. And that is central to the diversion program, is this restorative agreement, where they then have to complete maybe community service hours, a letter of apology, other conditions that help that youth to succeed and
Could I just
repair the harm.
ask a clarifying question?
Yes, of course.
When you talk about the youth in the restorative justice circle, is that just the alleged offenders, or have you brought in the victims of harm?
Great question, Supervisor. So in the preparation, so they are prepared, both the youth and the victim, if they do want to participate, is also prepared in advance.
Do they both have to participate?
In this case, no, they don't have to
Interesting.
participate. So the question is, well, how do you have, what can provide that voice of a victim if they don't want to participate? What we do is we have community members who have been trained in restorative practices that act as community voice and that additional outside perspective. We also encourage different levels. If a victim doesn't want to be present in the circle, we also encourage different ways that they can participate. Is that writing a letter that the coordinator can then read to the circle and to the youth? Or is there statements that can be made to the coordinator that can relay those? And so while that is absolutely a challenge that is inherent in this process, and we've worked to see how to support that and have a voice that still is participating. Through the completion of the restorative agreement, they then, once they successfully complete that, the case is sealed. And that's where the benefit of this to the youth comes, is that the case is sealed, and all the while they're getting supports and services that help them to address underlying causes. Next slide. You'll see some of the statistics here, and even some of the more updated statistics for 2023. 52 have successfully completed, 15 did not, so it's about a 78% success rate, over 1,000 hours of community service. I would highlight that we are expanding this program into the school to be a school-based program that addresses harmful behavior and seeks to reduce suspensions. And so how does that work? We're going to first have a creation of safe spaces, community, open gyms where there's pro-social activities, structured and unstructured. We'll then have a harm repair referral process, similar to what we described with the diversion program, but in the context of suspensions. And then there's going to be ongoing trainings for educators. We look to roll it out this semester and next semester. Next slide. We've used the knowledge and experience gained from the South County Youth Task Force Diversion Program to now spearhead a similar school-based program with the San Jose Youth Empowerment Alliance, San Jose YAY, formerly Mayor's Gang Prevention Task Force. And we're working with many partners, City of San Jose PD, Public Defender's Office, schools, and CBOs, and you can see that the mission statement on here. Next slide, please. We anticipate 4 middle schools that will be involved, and those are going to be from the Alum Rock Unified School District and Evergreen School District. And its components, similarly to the prior program, have a community building component, harm prevention workshops, pro-social activities, and then that harm repair, that referral process. I'd highlight that restorative justice is typically when it's spoke of, it's in a criminal context when the harm is done. And there is a larger field that employs restorative justice, and that's restorative practices. And that's where restorative justice can be in schools, in the workplace, personal life. And so South County Youth Task Force has taken significant strides to train school districts in South County, stakeholders, and communities. I'll add that my foundational training in restorative justice was from IRP and Dr. Amherst. Next slide. And so it's not just training, but it's also putting it into, one more slide. Thank you. It's not just the training, but it's also putting it into practice. And so we've helped supported community. As you can see, the community cafecitos, the community meetings at San Isidro Park are held in circle where everybody has an opportunity to have voice. Even the strategic plan for South County Task Force was generated using listening circles, using restorative practices, and gaining the input from over 350 community members. And so that takes us to the last slide, to areas of opportunity. And I've taken you through our work on RJ programs and our work in restorative practices in schools and community, and our experience working with community members, schools, law enforcement agencies, CBOs, and many others has really given us a rich understanding of these spaces, and it didn't happen overnight. As it was mentioned in other agencies, it takes time. For us, as going far back as 2015. As we look outside of the juvenile context to this adult context, we truly want to learn and explore more. What are best practices for RJ in the adult cases? How can we ensure that undue pressure is not placed on victims? What does RJ look like alongside accountability through a normal court process and many of its pathways? Through these and many other questions, we look to see what RJ looks like, and to that end, we are going to be visiting and meeting with other jurisdictions to view their models, to learn more about their successes and challenges, and we also want to see what existing organizations there are in Santa Clara County. In summary, we've gained much experience in the juvenile and community context and school. We have a lot to learn, and we want to learn more about RJ in the adult context and explore best practices across diverse jurisdictions. Thank you.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we'd like to welcome the Office of the Public Defender.
And President Allenberg, I can begin by just introducing, we're going to hear from Nisreen Baruti, who's one of our community outreach attorneys, but also was one of our longstanding supervisors of our juvenile team, and Deidre Edgar, who is the current supervisor of our post-conviction team.
Is this mic on? Is this on?
It is.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so thank you, Damon, for that introduction. I was the juvenile supervisor for 8 years and now on community outreach. So in the interest of time, I would like to just jump right into why we welcome this very timely opportunity to build and expand the use of restorative justice in our county. So why restorative justice? Because the law actually encourages it. And recently, Assembly Bill 2167 went into effect actually January 1st of 2023, so fairly recently, and it added Penal Code 17.2, which states that criminal courts shall consider alternatives to incarceration, and that includes RJ, which is specifically actually called out in the statute, which was really interesting to us. Next slide, please. And when you look at the legislative findings and declarations with respect to this bill, you will see that the state acknowledges that alternatives like RJ often lead to better outcomes, including rearrest rates. Perhaps most importantly, and this really jumped out at us as public defenders, is you'll see there it says, victims and survivors of violent crime report a greater satisfaction when the case is resolved through RJ than do victims and survivors whose case is resolved through traditional criminal court process. So what does that look like? I had a whole example prepared of how RJ was sort of explained to me in a first-degree burglary context, but my colleague is going to share a concrete example. But generally speaking, whenever a youth sits down across from the person that they've harmed, and I'll talk about youth because, again, I was in juvie for so long, they're usually sitting there with the parent behind them who's probably scolded them and disciplined at home. The victim has, at this point, in a first-degree burglary, the sanctity of your home has been violated. You've changed your locks. You're thinking about moving. You're terrified. You don't sleep. And then all of a sudden, you make a lot of assumptions about who that suspect is, and suddenly you're sitting across from a maybe 15-year-old who maybe was the lookout, maybe was the mastermind, but in your mind, maybe you're thinking, oh my God, it's a gang member. They're going to come back and harm me. I was targeted. Why did this happen to me? And so the opportunity for, again, voluntarily, like two willing people that want to sit down and look at each other face to face and talk about what happened and how it's impacted them is really amazing. So from our perspective as public defenders, in order for RJ approaches to work in our county and our community, we really believe in a few things. One, we should meaningfully invest in neutral facilitators who are trained and believe wholeheartedly in the power of healing through restorative justice. Because remember, the biggest difference between diversion and restorative justice is restorative justice requires the voluntary participation of the offender, the youth, and the community. So we do have very differing roles and we operate within an adversarial system. So sometimes it's really important who the messenger is and who is talking to both the offender and the victim about what are the benefits of RJ. So who and how a victim and an offender are approached and educated about the proven benefits of RJ really matters. Two, we should continue to work together on pilots and initiatives. As my esteemed colleagues, Adam Flores from the DA's office just mentioned, the Public Defender's Office is a partner on the new San Jose program set to launch on January 1st, which deals with 4 middle schools and looking at harm reduction, harm repair. The reason that's what's really cool about the program is we're actually looking at, here's a behavior, here's something that happened at the school. What's the traditional disciplinary approach that's been used in the past? What's the restorative justice approach that we can try? And we have 4 willing principals that want to work with us on trying something new and different. And so this is a pilot, but we're all excited to work with our district attorney partners, the City of San Jose Police Department, CBOs, to see what this could look like for our younger population. And additionally, we advocated for the creation of the divergent program in South County because, as you may recall from years past, the number of referrals to probation for fairly low-level offenses from South County were disproportionately high. And so this was an amazing opportunity to sort of take that on. And so the South County diversion program has been very successful, and we really appreciated being, partners and advocating for that. We also have pushed for RJ training, especially at our South County schools, for teachers, because as we know, a lot of times a referral comes from the classroom. And so when you have teachers that are actually trained in restorative justice, sometimes the incident is dealt with at that school level and never makes it to the probation department and then eventually our systems. The last thing that we are really excited about is we firmly believe as public defenders that irrespective of the crime, no matter how serious the crime, when a willing victim and an offender wish to sit down and have a conversation, we should seek to get out of the way, because we don't want to operate as a barrier to people's traumatic incidents that's happened to them and a real opportunity for them to heal, because we might have an idea of what accountability and justice looks like. And there are a lot of things to work out, I'm sure, because of, there are the court processes involved, how much the court process should be involved. But at the end of the day, the harm is the harm, irrespective of the crime. We know in prisons, families of murder victim are even able to sit down, if they choose to talk to an actual person who killed their family member. Maybe we wouldn't do that. Everybody has very differing views, but that exists. And so the idea of saying the crime should dictate whether or not we offer this to victims and offenders seems somewhat antiquated, and so we're excited about exploring doing something different. Now I'm going to turn over to my colleague.
Good afternoon. Can I please?
Nope, microphone.
Check.
This one?
Complete inconsistency with these.
Oh, this one.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Restorative justice has not historically been limited to juveniles or low-level crime. In fact, restorative justice, as you can see on any 48-hour show, often in the media is projected from instances where people have suffered serious harm or committed serious harm. In our county, back in the fall of 2015 in the city of Sunnyvale, John, who was 38 years old, lived at home with his parents, Mike and Melanie. Mike and Melanie were older parents. They were in their 70s, and they'd been raising their son and caring for him his entire life. John had suffered from mental health issues, delusional disorders, and depression over their lifetime, but on this day, around 1:30 in the afternoon, John actually assaulted his parents. John assaulted them, he snapped, and he ran away. When the police came, they arrested John around the corner. Melanie and Mike, actually all three, ended up going to the hospital. And eventually John ended up in our county jail system. In 2015, that was the beginning of their experience as a family and as a community, because the neighbors also witnessed this incident. As long-term residents of Sunnyvale, they were all shocked to hear about what happened, and the next steps were incredible. John was in jail for 5 years at this point of the story, and Mike and Melanie had been extremely concerned that they would pass away before John's case was resolved. They didn't want John to be sanctioned to a prison for the rest of his life. They had no other family that would be in John's life after they passed. So Mike and Melanie lobbied our criminal legal system. Both the defense and the prosecution came to court, talked to victim witness, wanted to be heard, and was isolated and siloed to the criminal process that we traditionally know. They fortunately had some resources, and they hired a private attorney at their own cost. They had this private attorney write a letter in 2020, 5 years later in the process. John's still in custody. Now Mike and Melanie are in their 80s. They had their attorney write to the parties involved in the traditional system, please do not put our son in prison for the rest of his life. Please get him into appropriate mental health services. And they said on behalf, through their attorney, that the attorney was making this request respectfully, so, quote, their victims' voices could be heard, close quote. This is in 2020. At that time, John had taken a leap off one of the floors in the jail in an effort to commit suicide. John felt horrible about what had happened. The parents were very estranged from John during this incarceration, and now we're in a different stage. John's health is in jeopardy. The parents are now in their 80s. John gets shipped to a facility, a medical facility, and Mike and Mary are very concerned that they're going to pass before this case is resolved. Their attorney, again at their cost, writes another letter explaining and making several phone calls to the traditional parties. Please let Mike and Melanie testify and get it recorded. They wanted their statements formally preserved in the event that they would not survive long enough for this case to resolve. Eventually, 7 years later after the incident in 2022, the case resolved, and John ended up in long-term forensic mental health services. Now, Mike and Melanie spend time with him under that supervision structure. This is not uncommon. In other jurisdictions, they often will employ restorative justice for all the reasons you can see. Also, in post-conviction work, our county is incredibly invested in doing great work in that area. We have people that have been incarcerated for decades that are writing journey letters, that have been rehabilitating for 10 and 20 years, that have been gaining insight and accountability, that have been meeting with victims and families of victims and repairing that, not in the goal of getting released, but in the goal of their own healing, because these offenders have also been victims most of the time. So restorative justice efficiently accomplishes these goals. It gets cases done quicker. People have healed on both sides of the fence. When offenders have healed, recidivism goes down, and the overall human suffering is diminished. Why restorative justice? Because it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I believe our last presenter, certainly last but not least, is not our last, maybe? Oh, just kidding. Office of Diversion and Reentry Services. And then just for time awareness, we have one more presentation from the Sheriff's Office afterwards.
Thanks, Casey.
and I'll go quick. So our approach to this study was to look at some best practices, focusing more on the adult population. So my staff did some research on some practices in Santa Cruz County. So the next slide shows an example, some examples of some neighborhood courts program and also a program that is offered at a women's center. We were trying to find out some outcome data for these two programs, so unable to do that. But as the district attorney's office, Adam Flores, mentions, like, I think this is an opportunity for us to visit nearby jurisdictions to kind of learn their programs in terms of how they are providing pre-filing diversion programs for low-level misdemeanors in the adult population. The second slide. Next slide. So this, so we were able to kind of do a cursory review of some best practices from the annual Community Corrections Partnership reports that each county is required to submit to the state, and we were able to find this restorative justice program from Santa Cruz County, and they did have some outcomes in terms of community resource programs that offered in juvenile hall and in the jail. Next slide. So just moving forward, some areas of opportunity is I've been part of the South County Youth Task Force and seen the great results and success of the South County Restorative Justice Youth Diversion Program. I'm hoping that that could be expanded to the older adults or 18 to 25-year-olds. Another opportunity is kind of look at partnership with our community-based organizations to kind of understand what they do currently here and what is offered in other nearby counties. And I think the final point here is for the county to establish a restorative justice framework. So just recently, Contra Costa County had an extensive assessment of community needs and opportunities. Many of you may know that Contra Costa County approved a half-cent sales tax, Measure X, and part of that Measure X was allocating $2 million for a restorative justice initiative. So they're, through the Contra Costa Probation Department, they're doing some some expansive community engagement in preparation for RFP for that effort. And so their framework is a victim-centered approach. 2 is launch a pilot program, and 3, provide a capacity building. So as we move forward with next steps, I would also encourage to leverage our Lived Experience Advisory Board to inform them and to also receive input in terms of some of these restorative justice programs. And then also consider reaching out to the Interfaith Chaplaincy and our faith-based collaborative to understand how they could incorporate restorative justice programs within their organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier. And our last presentation is from the Office of the Sheriff, Restorative Services Division, Dr. Holly Childs.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to start off by telling you a little bit about what happens in custody when we talk about repairing harm to community. And so I just wanted to tell you about 2 efforts within the Sheriff's Office that are current programming. The first one is a Sheriff's Work Program. We actually have 400 people who participate in that program who would have been doing time in one of our facilities, but are now in the community and doing community service in lieu of that time in custody. We are really talking about how to expand that to others, and it's a great opportunity to relieve the number of people who are in custody. The second thing is we do have some victim groups. It is very limited within custody. Some of the places that we would like to go in future programming is we know a lot of clients owe restitution. A lot of our clients do not have the funds or the income to pay that restitution. We really are working on and devising some ideas around having clients who are in custody, having ways for them to earn money to pay restitution. So we're having kind of an industry-type program model. The other thing is we would like to start offering victim impact panels, having some educational component for clients to understand, you know, what is the impact of those behaviors on the people who they have committed the crimes against. And the last one is, excuse me, restorative justice dialogues and conferences, which you've heard that from my other partners, so I won't go into detail in lieu of time. But what I really would like to do is to reiterate what the public defender talked about, is that a majority of clients in custody are victims themselves. It's not an excuse, it's just a fact. And talking about what is the vision and the purpose of the justice system in our county. So it's moving away from thinking about restorative justice in terms of offering singular programs, but moving into what is the vision of a restorative system, moving from, is it a punishment-only system, or is it going to be a healing system with accountability? And I think that's a really important factor when we talk about restorative justice. And so we know punishment alone for people who have been victimized and have complex traumas, we know that punishment alone rarely prevents future behavior, and if anything, actually increases negative behaviors. So one of the things that I would like to talk about are some potential opportunities for us to work with those clients in custody and see how we can offer programs and services that will heal them in hopes that they can also go back into the community and not commit future offenses, but also maybe even teach their families and their children some of those opportunities. So two really big, impactful, evidence-based programs we know are cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy to really deal with a lot of PTSD. We know a majority of clients in our custody also have high ACEs scores. We also think it's really important for families. So we know now that children who have a parent in custody are much more likely to be involved in the criminal justice system themselves. What an opportunity to have someone in custody, work on that family healing, so when they're released, they still have those bonds, they still have those connections. Being connected to your family or your support circles while you're in custody is instrumental in success for clients who are leaving custody. And the last one is having healing groups and circles that match clients in gender identity, age, and cultural needs. The way people heal is very individual. What they need is very individual. We also know we have a large number of clients in custody who have a mental health need, and those programs also would need to be individualized for those types of clients. But I think it's a fantastic opportunity while we're talking about restorative justice to really think about it in terms of not an individual program, but really a vision for our county.
Thank you. I just really would like to say a big thank you to all the departments who participated. I hope that what you, Supervisor, both of you have noticed is a great deal of collaboration and engagement across our criminal justice partners to a degree that I'm not sure that we've seen before. People are working incredibly closely together on really forward-thinking ideas, restorative justice certainly being one of them. I think all of them were incredibly proud to present today. I'd also like to thank Amanda, who helped me with the slides a great deal. But certainly we have everybody here, and we're so happy to take questions, and thank you very much for your interest in this really important topic.
Thank you, Intern Casey, for pulling this together, and for all of the departments that presented. This has been fascinating, educational, inspiring, and once again, I just find myself so incredibly proud of the work that's being done by all of you in Santa Clara County. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you see is ahead to do. Thank you for educating us. I know that we'll take maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I probably have a couple of hours worth of questions. So I'm going to go first to Supervisor Chavez and then see what's left or follow up later. But first, I'm going to see if we have any public commenters.
We have one request to speak online and no requests in chambers.
All right, if anyone else on Zoom wishes to speak, now is the time to raise your virtual hand. The queue will close when the first person begins speaking.
And we're holding at one. Our first speaker is Ben Z. I am unmuting you. Please accept the unmute. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, thanks so much for all the presentations. You know, it does sound like a great idea, restorative justice. It can help solve a lot of problems in our community without, using incarceration. But it is also, there are downsides, and this can be abused. A politically connected person can have charges filed against somebody who did not commit a crime just for the DA's office to then raise a doubt, to stand trial in order to move the proceedings to competency hearings. And that is, the end result is, yes, the person who's committing these crimes, who's assaulting parents, who is forcing children to be sexually abused, they don't suffer any consequence. They don't spend a day in jail. they're allowed to continue doing this to other children. Meanwhile, the county comes up with a fake excuse as to why there should not be a screening for the children. And in the process, they include a child who's not even part of the divorce, and they force this child to be under the legal custody of a man who previously drugged and raped a teen. And that's while the mother, she knows the danger posed to the child. She wanted to stipulate with me for custody, and the courts would not allow it. I mean, this is just, it's crazy what's going on. Now, one of my children is reporting being suicidal, and he's strung out on drugs, and I'm sure all the other kids are feeling the same amount of pain, but this county is so fucking callous to not give my kids a screening. It's just terrible. I hope we can change this because you guys are doing terrible things.
That was our final speaker.
Thank you. Supervisor Chavez.
Thank you. I want to start with a question that may be more appropriate for Nick or Dr. Luna. And let me ask this question. What support and screening do folks who are incarcerated get when they come into our custody?
So maybe a little more specific. So when you mean support,
Let me say let me just say what the outcome is that I'm interested in. We have a nonprofit called the, oh gosh, I always get its name mixed up, CHC, and they're in Palo Alto. And when we have children who are having challenges in school, often if a parent can afford it, they can go and get a full psychosocial analysis for their child that includes like a day of testing, or I actually don't know how long it is, but they get tested.
Children's Health Council.
Thank you. I don't know why that doesn't stay in my head, but the Children's Health Council, and it is a tool that I've been concerned that we don't provide that same level of an analysis when a child comes into our custody, and it's expensive and it's worthwhile because the outcome that you get from that is an understanding of potential mental health needs that your child may have, but also as important is an analysis of how the child learns. And I'd raised this a few years ago, and it was part of the reason, President Ellenberg, that I was so interested in the Child Advocacy Center. I don't know what we renamed it, I always forget that too, but why I wanted to change the way we did analysis of children earlier so that we would really be able to give parents a robust, right, the diagnostic center, but a robust set of tools rather than go to the school and do that. You know, it's such a mess. But we don't do a full psychosocial analysis of every child that comes into our custody, do we?
no, we do not. So every youth who does come into custody is immediately seen by our behavioral health, county's behavioral health, and does a full screening at that point on why the youth is going to court. If the courts determine that there is a psych eval that is needed, that will be requested, and then the public defender's offices and probation department make sure that that takes place when it relates to the case that the youth is going through.
So, and I'll just, President Ellenberg, this is more of a long-term kind of pipe dream, which is the diagnostic center. What I had initially intended with that is that we were able to do that full analysis whenever we had a child that was presented in our system. And part of the reason for that is that, and this really goes back to a point that was earlier raised about how many folks that are in our custody have been victims of crime, right? And all of the implications and impacts that we know that has on learning, empathy, the ability to connect with other human beings, all of that. And in my opinion, that information, if we had it when a child came in, we would be able to customize the services that we're providing to that child and potentially never see them in our system again, because it would be an opportunity to do that full analysis. If we did it at the diagnostic center, even more preventative. So I'm just going to point that out. And for me, the same thing should be happening with the adult side, especially given how long adults are in our custody. Because if really it's a gift to the adult offender and to their families to understand better why the person comports themselves in a particular way. And my own sense is that we as a society would have a much better understanding of who ends up in our custody and why over years of being able to understand that data. One step we took to try to do that was, or that I was interested in, was to understand how many children may or may not have lead in their blood. And then I came to learn two things. One, any change we make in this institution, even when we have the best of intent, is just difficult, and that was pretty disappointing to me. But the other thing I learned is that a child may have had lead poisoning when they were younger, may not show lead in their blood. The only way to know that would be to take a more intrusive test of the child. My point only is this, that all of these programs are fantastic if we can understand better what the dosage is that's required, what the implications are for recidivism, and what the actual implications are relative to how we communicate. So every one of these programs was really interesting to me, understanding better the trends we're seeing and under what terms and conditions it is both healing restorative and changes a trajectory for human beings, I think is ultimately where we're trying to get. So I would just encourage, as we're thinking about these things, that partnering with a nonprofit like that to do some deeper dive into who we have in custody, I think would help us understand better why sometimes programs do or don't work, and then really us being able to address recidivism in a much more meaningful way than we can today. I thought today was really fascinating. I'm going to stop because I know this was something that was Susan's vision and dream, and so I'm really interested in hearing your perspective on this.
Supervisor, before we jump in real quick.
Please, go ahead, Nick. Yeah, absolutely.
Follow up with Supervisor Chavez. So one of the things that we have, and when I heard you speak about compassion training and compassion and understanding, is we're working with Stanford, and we're trying to develop a compassion training curriculum for the youth in juvenile hall in our secure youth treatment facilities, knowing that they're going to be there longer, and the offenses that have been committed are certainly more serious. And so we're trying to work with Stanford to develop that program specifically.
That's helpful. I would just say for a child, one thing that I think we have a lot of children who don't know, that they're dyslexic, that they have ADD, that the way they learn is different, and that there's nothing wrong with them. But when we see children at a very young age acting out often, and I'm not talking about people who have border personality disorder, someone who's narcissistic, but we know that we have children, especially children and adults in custody, who have learning disabilities. We should better understand what they are, and because I do think that would help us marry the kind of programming we're doing. First of all, I think compassion training and empathy in a world where people are on these and are on Zoom and don't know what a facial expression looks like and don't know how to feel connected to a person they don't know. I think all of that is really critical. Like, it's kind of an everything all at once kind of strategy. But I do think if we were to invest in this, I have no doubt it would dramatically change the way we approach a number of issues. And instead of trying to cookie cutter programs, we'd be able to customize them. Because the coin of the realm, in my opinion, long term, related to all of the work we're doing in the public safety and justice system, is how much can we customize the services needed and do it in a cost effective way that means we won't see people again or their children. Right, that's right, prevention. Susan's like leaning in.
Just singing.
Chief Children's Officer, yeah, that's exactly right. Thank you.
So I'm going to just stay high level here. First of all, I would love for this to become an annual program with, starting with today as a baseline. Every department talked about areas of opportunity, prospective, further collaborations that are coming up. So at a minimum, getting an annual update, I think, would be fascinating. I would be really interested to see, and I don't know if it would be consistent across departments or department-specific, but how are you measuring success? Is it whether or not a person who fully completes a restorative justice program recidivates? Is it something else? Is it participant satisfaction? I don't want to dictate that, but would be very interested there. I think also the district attorney's team mentioned adding restorative justice on that card that they have. I think having a coordinated website or publication or something that really lays out all of the things that we're doing, I think would be really beneficial. I will, it's really hard not to ask all the questions. But I
will do my
just-
best to answer
just
them if you have them.
weigh in that I very much agree with the public defender's assessment that voluntary restorative justice should be available regardless of the harm, because that really should be the victim's call. And of course, the challenge there is ensuring that a victim doesn't feel pressured or blackmailed, re-victimized into participating. But I think that's a really fundamental piece, because if we're talking about justice, I know the prosecutor is for the people as opposed to for the specific, well, but they're also for that specific victim. But anyway, I just think that's worth some significant further conversation. Also in the public defender's presentation, I guess I'll just make these more as observations than questions. You noted an area of opportunity as, quote, earlier in the process before cases resolve. To me, the whole purpose of restorative justice is that it's an alternative approach to case resolution. I certainly don't think it should be just in connection with sentencing. So I would be really interested in learning more about that and about opportunities for pre-filing diversion and restorative justice. Yeah, please.
And the other thing that I just wanted to also highlight is that I think one thing we know about human behavior is the speed in which a response occurs has such a significant impact on whether or not there's recidivism or any other thing. So I think your point about at what part of the system is really worth a deeper dive than the 7-year experience of this family. So thank you for that.
There's an identical case going on that I know of in San Jose, which must mean that there are hundreds more. But it really could have, I thought that story could have been about the young man that I know about. And finally, just to the point about child-parent psychotherapy, I think that, I don't remember who mentioned that, but whoever did, I wanted to ask the sheriff, have we even restored parent-child contact visits in the jails? I know that existed before the pandemic.
Yeah, there's some work, and Holly actually spoke about it at, I think, the last meeting here where we
right, it was
actually
your
did
comment,
that event
obviously. Yeah.
to reconnect parents. But on an ongoing basis,
Yeah.
it is limited. But one of the programs, and I'll let Holly speak to it, or Dr. Child, that we want to bring back is the parent program. So that's something that we're talking about.
Very much so. I'm not going to bring you back down now, Holly, but I would love, Dr. Childs, but I would very much love to talk further about that. I'm going to wrap this up so that we get to our last item today with a motion to receive the report with the further direction that this become an annual report that identifies metrics of success and progress, and some way to pull all of this together in a publicly digestible way. Did you want to add something?
I will second. And the other thing I'd like to ask staff to do is consider what the costs and opportunities would be for psychosocial evaluations of young people who come into our custody, and start with the youth, and just look at the cost and the programmatic impact to that kind of assessment as part of the motion, if you're comfortable.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's vote, please.
Vice Chairperson Chavez?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Before we vote, Damon, go ahead.
Thanks, President Ellenberg. The one thing I would just, I know you're about to make a motion, and I don't want to hitch a trailer to this.
Well,
but,
if it's a good one, we'll hitch it on.
you know, after, almost close to 30 years of being in the public defender business, I think this is like the most important discussion next to maybe equity discussions, and I think those are really combined with each other. I do wonder if we consider potentially a restorative justice committee to come with recommendations for potentially piloting or giving proposals to this committee that we might actually try and pilot, or at least one of them try and pilot in the coming 12 to 18 months.
So just say a little bit more about your vision of the committee, I assume, not a Brown acted, not with the Board of Supervisors, a working group.
I would think maybe an ad hoc subcommittee with representatives of all the departments that participated today, something like maybe 6 months down the road or 90 days down the road that we have to meet within a couple times within the next couple months and return with maybe 1 to 3 proposals to the committee where there was an adoption of a single proposal that would be implemented in the 12 months following that. I don't want to commit resources that I know everyone's concerned about, but some real concrete
I would add it to the motion as a recommendation for a work group that is voluntarily, where there's voluntary participation by the departments of any of the folks up here, and county council's light on. That's not a good thing.
I just thought I'd lean in procedurally, but I think you
Please
took
do.
care of what I was going to say. You always read my mind. I was going to say that because the two of you are the only members of the committee, it wouldn't be an ad hoc subcommittee, but rather a staff-led working group, but that's exactly what you included in your motion. So,
All right, staff-led working group in the motion.
With a voluntary participation. Nick?
So the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council subcommittee, one of the subcommittees is looking at the different options that you're speaking about, with a committee being pulled together. So there is a component that is looking at restorative justice options, best practices in that subcommittee meeting.
Fantastic. Let's make sure we're not redundant and that we have, I don't know if it needs to be, again, I don't want to be prescriptive here, separate juvenile and adult. Certainly don't want to duplicate what you're doing, but you are all outstanding, brilliant leaders who I think can work this out off of the dais.
Yeah, I just think we can bring back that information to this committee when we talk about restorative justice as the things that we've found and through the subcommittee, so that we're not duplicating efforts.
Okay. Anybody else?
Can we just ask for clarification, since it's a voluntary staff-led working group? Can we ask, is the emphasis on an adult? Because we have a lot of work already being done in juvenile justice, and really, if we're going to have an impact and we're going to devote time and resources, it really should be emphasized in the adult system. Is that correct?
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Quick, let's vote.
Vice Chairperson Chavez?
Yes.
And Chairperson Ellenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion
Thank you.
carries.
It is a challenge when you have so many brilliant minds and
I
good
thought you were going to
thoughts
say
on a
so
long
many
days.
lawyers, but I realize not
I
all
would
of
never
you are.
say that.
I'm just teasing.
You know I would not say that. All right. Item 6 is to receive a report from the Office of the County Executive relating to custodial facilities. And I'll just note that this is in no way meant to be a fulsome conversation about the beginnings of a new jail process. This is a very preliminary update on where we are going to go. And in October, we're going to be receiving, the full board will be receiving a report on community engagement. And I have a lot of thoughts about that too, but let's hear the presentation first. Thank you.
Chairperson Ellenberg and Vice Chair Chavez. This item is actually led by Greta Hansen directly, and unfortunately she could not be here today, so she sends her apologies. But there has been significant work underway by the parties that are reflected here in the legislative file. And of course, Veronica Marcello with the Office of the County Exec supports all of this work. I can tell you that there is significant progress being made in all of these areas, particularly around the community engagement piece, which I will co-lead with the Division of Equity and Social Justice, just reflecting on how absolutely critical it is to ensure that we have buy-in to the extent that we can, and that we're working in areas where we can co-design and facilitate that process with community. To the points that were made earlier by Supervisor Chavez, we really feel that is going to be a significant body of work and a critical and important body of work as we move forward in this process. In October, we will be returning on October 22nd with a in-depth report, including a report out by Dr. Austin, who will report and provide a presentation to the board on the projection study that is in its final draft form, which we've reviewed. The needs assessment, facility needs assessment RFP is still work that is yet to be completed, but I think we're close. I don't know if, Veronica, you want to add any more to that, and after that, happy to take any questions in additional direction.
Great.
Veronica Marcello with the Office of the County Executive. So just regarding the custodial facility needs assessment, it is in its final draft, and we're moving as quickly as possible to have that released soon, with a projected submissions due in the fall of this year.
Great, thank you. So I'll make a couple of comments, knowing where we are on time, and then turn to my colleague and just reverse the public comment area. To me, just what I want to really emphasize for today is the piece about the RFP and how that includes community engagement. 2 board meetings ago, I made the motion that Dr. Luna was referencing, to direct staff to develop a community and client-centered design policy, really in support of comments that were made by Supervisor Chavez, who I think rightfully highlighted that too often in our facilities design processes, we have historically not engaged community and clients in as effective or meaningful a way as really possible to inform the design of spaces where ultimately they'll seek and receive services. And I know that we tend to focus on optimizing physical space and efficiency, minimizing cost of instruction and staff needs, and we approach our clients for feedback once a facility is already halfway to groundbreaking. And obviously that, as you said last time, that approach ties our hands from implementing really significant changes that could potentially better serve the community and our clients. And again, as I've heard you say and absorbed for 6 years now, at our core, we are a service-driven agency that strives to provide the very best care for our clients to meet their needs. So I want to make sure that we don't reverse the order of operations. So the RFP for a custodial facility needs assessment should absolutely include an expectation of community engagement that involves individuals who are currently or formerly incarcerated in our facilities, custody staff, the correctional officers and others, survivors of harm, service providers, including programs, classes, and health-related services, family members of system-impacted individuals, and other community stakeholders. That, to me, is going to be just a critically important piece of feeling confident in the results of a need assessment. I would also suggest that administration consider working with a trusted community messenger, somebody who's external to the county but known locally, who can help with facilitating those conversations. So I'm very much looking forward to receiving the report in October. I'm eager to begin working in collaboration with the community to embark on a journey to a design that will offer the very best opportunities to heal, rehabilitate, keep safe all populations who stay or work in custody, and lead to the lowest recidivism rates that can be achieved through thoughtful design, construction, culture, and purpose.
And I'll make that a motion. Sure. And I do want to just add one bit of feedback. We have got to find partners who can assess the facility programming to address recidivism and the reduction of it. If we do not have that, and it may be that no one's researched it, and then what I would suggest is that we look around the globe for somebody who's designed these types of facilities with that in mind and not stick with the same old people who are used to slapping up four walls. And I was, you know, in the time I've been here, I have been ignored by many people. We all do. Not you, not you. But what I mean is, you know, saying something where people are like, oh, that's hilarious or adorable, and pat, pat, pat on the head. And by far the most frustrating was talking to the contractors who were helping us, and I'm putting this in quotes, with this facility. We asked about recidivism, we asked about family connection, we asked about, like, how is this building designed in a way that looks at the determinants of whether or not somebody comes back into custody, and literally our consultants could not have cared one whit less. So, not to call them out, but I will just say that I think that the county wants something different, and we should push ourselves to understand, radically different, to understand the implications of the direction that this group of people, and I don't even mean me and Susan, I mean like all of your good work, which means that in addition to all the folks that Susan's just talked about, I think we also have to make sure we're engaging volunteers who work in custody. I think the folks with lived experience and our faith-based partners, but people who are in the jails, because they have a different perspective even than all of us. So, and the courts, I think, actually should be included. But nonetheless, if they can't explain the design relative to what we're trying to accomplish, do not hire them. Be mean to them. Make them go away. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to be mean, but we'll do it in restorative ways. Move on.
Do we have public speakers on this item?
There are no requests to speak.
Let's vote on the motion.
Vice Chairperson Chavez?
Yes.
And Chairperson Allenberg?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right. Are there any announcements? Item 7. We did it. You're out of here. All right. I'm adjourning this meeting, and we
Thank you.
are gathering again. You all know when. Oh, next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, October 24th at 10 a.m. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in both the presentations and the discussions today.